Okay, guys. Today I'm going to be talking through in two videos. One is going to be dealing with the chart itself. As I'm doing my research to get my elevator pitch, I want to have data to go to the spreadsheets with. So we've looked at this one before. I said global robotics, artificial intelligence. These are this is going to be a sector which is just going to have a natural draw to it, as businesses across the world are going to want to, social distance their workforce. The best way to do that is to put a robot in its place, or software to replace people doing a lot of things. So this is a trend that I think is going to be too powerful to fight. So this is where I'm going to have some of my money invested in. And I've talked about it before, just to take a look at the long term trend. Here, we're going to be taking a look at a shorter term trend. So this is only 6 months, and I'll show you how we'll play it in the short term. This is one that even if the short term trend breaks, I will still probably hold, because the longer term trend is, which we did in a previous video, is still very much intact. So one of the things that we can see here is, we were at a high before in the 23s. Then we had a pandemic, and we're back up at the highs again. So this is going to be an interesting place to see what happens to the overall market and what happens to this stock as we approach this level. There were some people who bought this stock back in February and have been holding it, just praying that we got back to a level where they could sell uh, um, and not take a loss. Okay, so there is going to be some supply, some overhead sitting in that area, but right now we have a pretty defined and powerful uptrend from the bottom into this area right here. Now you can see the price is 23.61, and that is the high, almost the highest it's been in an entire year. That's the 52-week range. So we're right at the top. So it shows you the strength, that even if when the markets have been hit and have been roiling, a lot of sectors are down. This one is about as strong as it can be. Now, here we're going to go take a look at some data points. Now, I'm going to be a little bit careful about picking these points in here, but I do want to show that it hit a low of 1511, and that was on March 16th. Now that's important to know, because the sellers were piling on, and either buyers overwhelmed them or the sellers stopped selling. Okay, we bounced a little bit, and then this is actually a very important date, the 23rd. The 23rd was when the market bottomed. That was a Monday back in March, and you can see that on the 23rd, on one of the worst selling days in the market, this is actually at a low 1547, which was higher than its previous low. So when we see a higher low, that's a positive sign. That means sellers were there, but buyers were almost a little impatient. They're like, "Well, love it back down at something like this level," and then you see when the selling abated, um, the price jumped up. Okay, and then the next time it came back down, the sellers did sell off a little bit, but the buyers were really impatient. So they came back in, and we've got 1692. Now this was a market low. This was abnormal. There was a lot of uncertainty in here, but now we've got announcements of the fiscal stimulus package. We know a little bit about more what's going on in the world, so we have more information. So I'm going to use this data point right here. Okay, so that low was at on April 3rd, and we hit a low of 1692. So that's where buyers stepped in or sellers stepped away. Now I'm going to look out a little ways, and I'm actually going to go a little further out to say, like, here. I want a lot of data, a lot of time passing between my points. So now I'm going to try and find this low point, which appears to be on May 14th. Okay. And that hit a point of $20.76. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do there is, I'm going to set a floor. So I would be drawing a point from that low. Oh man, sorry. This is very difficult to do, draw straight lines with this tool, but hopefully you'll get the idea here. If I can just draw a line right there, and we're going to calculate that trend line. Okay. Now, one of the things that I'm going to also do is, this is where I know my buyers are going to step in and help me out. So if I can buy close to this line and hold as we go up, it's a very nice floor there. But while this is going to be down here, I'm also going to calculate where my tops are, like a parallel channel up top, to know that if we get really close to this line, I'm going to buy. But if we get too close to this line, we're a little bit stretched. And what I would say here is, this doesn't mean sell, but I would trim my position. So if I was buying 1,000 shares, anytime we got close to this, I'd be trimming the position down to maybe 200 to 300 shares by the time we hit the top of the channel. Okay, so if we get too far extended and away from the support line, I'm going to take some profit selling. So if I had 1,000 here, maybe by the time we got up here, I might have trimmed to maybe 600 shares. That's just going to give me some cash for if we ever pull back to the trend line again. Okay. Sometimes if you go up to the top of the trend line too quickly, you might not just sit with the cash waiting to buy back here. You might put the cash to work in something else that you've been working on or doing your homework on. So, although we want to be long the entire way up, as we get too far extended, we do want to take some profits. Just take a little bit off the table. You'll never go broke taking a profit. And I know the greed element says, if we just held on to everything, yeah, we could be making so much more. The thing is, you never know when something could change in this industry that disrupts everything. Okay, so that's one reason why we don't want to have all our eggs in one basket. We always want to have risk on, but have the ability to take risk off when the stock really moves in your favor too quickly, too much too quickly. Okay, so we've got our numbers here. I'm actually going to take a peek right here. Let's say I'm going to go back to this one. So I'm going to also talk about putting a top parallel channel, probably not today, but in a later video, just so I can compute. That's more information that I could give to my boss to say, hey, here's the support, but here would be the top of the trend channel. If we ever get too close to that, we should be taking some profits and putting them away for a rainy day. Okay, so I'm going to take these numbers that we got from this chart in this video, and I'm going to take that into the next video where we go to the spreadsheet and do our calculations.